What's going on, everybody? It's a Friday, TGIF Friday. Weekend's here. Any big plans you guys have this weekend? Hope you guys have some amazing plans. Anyways, good to be back on. Uh, just I was going through, I was circling the web, see what's out there NFL draft wise, and I came across an article were by USA Today, basically saying the 50 biggest NFL draft busts of the last 50 years. And the author, Nate Davis, compiled a list of players that basically is a bust. And hard to ignore that the Raiders are all over this place. So going through this list, he, I don't like saying, I caught myself saying, right now because just never like saying, in any type of setting, whether it be a press conference, podcast, or whatever. The other one that annoys me is whatnot. Trying to not use those words. But looking at the list here, I see Jamarcus Russell is number three as far as NFL draft bust behind Tony Mandarich of the Packers, who went second overall in the 1989 draft, and Ryan Leaf, who went second overall in the 1998 draft by the then San Diego Chargers. So obviously, Jamarcus Russell has to be listed up there. Basically, it says it turned out to be a miserable years for passers, the likes of Brady Quinn, Kevin Kolb, John Beck, and Drew Stanton, also taken way too early. But Russell just could never get going for the Raiders. And the Raiders, you look back at that draft and you be saying to yourself, what if? What if the Raiders selected the likes of Calvin Johnson, Marshawn Lynch, Adrian Peterson, Patrick Willis, Joe Thomas, and Darrell Revis? Um, a major whiff by the Raiders that year. You just wonder to yourself, how good could the Raiders been if they would have selected Calvin Johnson, Adrian Peterson? What the heck? What happened there? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I get it. The Raiders needed a quarterback, but really, that was tough. Really tough. Really tough. Going through this list again, they have other quarterbacks listed here. The next time you see the Raiders in this list, you have to keep scrolling until you get to let's see here. Let's see here. Number 12. Y'all remember Robert Gallery, who went second overall in the 2004 draft. Uh, Author says he never approached his pre-draft hype, only became serviceable after moving to guard. Once again, the Raiders drafted Gallery over Larry Fitzgerald, Philip Rivers, Sean Taylor, and Ben Roethlisberger. What is going on here? Some of this I forget, and I look at this, I'm like, if only Raider Nation had those type of caliber players, Raiders would be struggling throughout the seasons that you've been seeing since the Super Bowl in 2002. What if? What if the Raiders selected, if they were smart enough to select guys who would have made a difference for the franchise and had Raiders pumped up every single year like they were from 2000 to 2002, or even 1999 for that matter, with Rich Gannon, because things don't happen overnight, but it basically translated to winning seasons under John Gruden before he was traded away to Tampa. I understand that trade. Anyways, we're talking about the NFL draft bus. So I'm still scrolling down here, and the Browns are also listed here too. So Raiders and Browns just haven't had it. Had a good at all. Um, so I say it's a tie between the Raiders and Browns as far as this list here that they mentioned of who are the NFL draft busts. Um, I keep scrolling down until I get to number 40, which is the Raiders 2020 draft. All those guys are no longer with the Raiders. Imagine that. First rounders went Henry Ruggs, David Arnett, Lynn Bowden in the third round, who later traded to Miami, Tanner Muse, Brian Edwards, John Simpson, who basically turned into a pretty good pickup for the Baltimore Ravens. So, but the 2020 draft, it went poof. No longer with the Raiders. Gone. David Arnett, I talked about him on other podcasts before. Raiders whiffed on Jalen Johnson, who's shined for the Bears now as a quarterback. Raiders had him tip of their fingers. Instead, they went with David Arnett, who thought that he was going to blossom. Instead, he fizzled out and no longer in the league. Imagine that. So yeah, that was a pretty bad draft there for the Raiders. Uh, then underneath that though, they have the Raiders 2019 draft. There's the infamous fourth round overall pick of Cleve Farrell, which everybody thought that was too high, and even myself, like that was a big time reach. Don't understand all that. And then also you selected Jonathan Abram, just couldn't never get it going for the Raiders. Down with the Saints. Josh Jacobs was drafted that year too. You know, he was productive. He was injured, but he was productive. No longer with the Raiders. Obviously with the Packers, so like a free agent deal there. And then in the second round, Trayvon Mullen was cut after 3 seasons. But at least they were able to pick up Max Crosby, Hunter Renfro, who really did, pretty good for the Raiders' first 2 seasons. Uh, who'd have ever thought third and Renfro? Remember that? Seemed like a long time ago since that happened. But Max Crosby, though, wow, what a pickup. That was a great job by Mike Mayock, who selected Max Crosby. But I say out of the 2019 draft, at least the Raider Nation has Max Crosby in the fold. Pretty solid player. Uh, he's dependable, fierce, and gets it done. Underneath that, 40A to 40B, Alex Leatherwood, 17th overall 2021 draft. Yeah, all bad, huh? Really bad, bad, bad. Don't understand that. Raiders thought that he was gonna do well, but they even moved him to guard, but just never could get it going. Was later traded to the Bears. Well, let me back up. Traded, whatever. He was cut. Um, it just seems like long ago, forgetting, with Leatherwood, but just never could pan out for the Raiders. Underneath that, 41, Raiders 2011 trade for Carson Palmer. I remember that. Palmer was just 8-16 in 1.5 seasons with the Raiders. The Raiders needed a quarterback after Jason Campbell went down. And Jason Campbell was doing pretty good for the Raiders up until his injury. That was brutal. And Raiders panicked and they went for the trading Carson. It looked good at first. You're like, okay, Carson Palmer, get this thing going, and hopefully to the playoffs in their minds, and just never could get it going. Just again, he went 8-16 in 1.5 seasons, so not good enough. Not good enough. Scrolling down, I think that's it for the Raiders here. 49. Yeah, so that's it for the Raiders in that biggest bust, according to USA Today. I can't disagree with their list there, because the Raiders done miserable in in the draft before, but this year, like I said before, they need to hit on their picks, especially in the first round, because it's pivotal that they hit the first round draft pick, whether it be at 13, move up, move down. They need a hit on their first round pick. And I believe Tom Telesco will do his job like he did with the Chargers. But we'll see. We'll see what happens next week. By next Thursday, see how all you react to the selection of the Raiders' first round pick in the 2024 NFL draft coming from Detroit, Michigan. Anyways, so this is my first video for today. I will compile another video of your guys' responses of what I posed earlier this week. So, again, my name is Anthony Alavis. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll talk to you soon.